When you think of a problematic and traumatizing headmaster and this person's face is what you think of, wait till you get a load of this. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Critical Commentary. I'm Taylor, and today we're going to be doing a Season 3 review to Netflix's Sex Education. You're probably wondering that something's a little bit different from my normal setup. I got a new desk! I'm super excited. I'm glad I was able to get this new setup both for school and for this channel. And yeah, tell me if you like it down below in the comments. And also, should I get plants over here? I'm thinking I should get plants over here. Jokes aside, I am super excited to get into this review with you all, mostly because Sex Education is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Netflix original series for a lot of different reasons. One, because I remember seeing Asa Butterfield premiere on television, or make his debut premiere on television, when he played Mordred in Merlin. Why do I keep talking about Merlin? But also characters like Hannah Waddingham from Ted Lasso, in addition to Gillian Anderson from X-Files, The Crown. What other things do you want to talk about that she's amazing in? I'm going to kind of ride the line with spoilers because I feel like it is a show that a lot of people watch, but I keep running across people who've never seen it before, and I really want to get them on the bandwagon. So I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of spoilers. I'm going to try to keep them out of context as much as possible and only really give you superficial ones to get you to want to watch the show. But virtually this review will be spoiler free. For those who've never seen Sex Education before, the series centers around Otis, who has a mother that is a sex therapist. She's a couples therapist, but she does have a specialty in sexology. And so he already has this therapeutic emotional intelligence coming off the bat. And while he's in high school, he realizes that there are a lot of teenagers dealing with raging hormones and unable to properly and safely express themselves. Him, alongside his friend, this girl from the other side of the tracks that reads feminist literature named Maeve, played by Emma Mackey, they kind of come together and they create a clinic where they provide their contemporaries with the proper knowledge that they need, also while kind of getting into shenanigans, doing a bunch of crap that's just, bonkers, but also telling a really compelling story at the same time. So in other words, it's Charlie Bartlett if Charlie Bartlett didn't have as much of a chaotic, neutral moral compass. What makes season 3 so much better than its previous 2 seasons is because we are now hitting a point in the narrative where we're building upon already established plot lines. I mean, duh. But I feel like with third seasons, especially with second seasons, you see a lot of faltering there. There's always something that they probably should have held back in season 1 to maybe season 3 and then spend season 2 building upon. And so season 2 ends up kind of being weird, but season 2 actually wasn't like that. They really have been cultivating this story very intentionally, and you can see that. If I had to sum up how season 3 is so much more significant, I would have to say that with season 1, it's because we get, the sex. And then with season 2, we get intimacy. We start talking a little bit more about what intimacy is defined by with different individuals and within couples. And then in season 3, we get to talk about relationships. And at this point, we start seeing the interconnectedness of a lot of people's story arcs, We go back to Maeve's issues with her mother. We go to Otis's issues with kind of going from not being sexually active to being hyperactive, but in a non-meaningful way, when all he knows is how to really be a romantic. And those two characters, I mean, obviously are the main people, but they're not the only focus in this season. And that is what makes this show so good, because now we start getting into non-binary characters and cishet characters who might be attracted to non-binary people but have never really questioned their queerness before. We get into learning about the long-term effects of sexual assault and how trauma can really permeate our psyche and make us question how we see other people. We also talk about being in a ethnicity or a culture where being who you are and being your most authentic self is not widely appreciated and even illegal, and that creates a lot of inner discord for the individual that is expressing those feelings, because they want to be themselves, they want to be happy, they want to not hide a large portion of themselves. But how do you do that when the world has kind of already stacked everything against you? Nkuti Gatwa, Connor Swindles, Amy Lou Wood, Tanya Reynolds, and Mimi Keene were definitely elevated in their stories this time around, or this season. And I really am so happy that they got to get that full fleshness in their characters. But I really have to talk about this new headmaster, who is played by none other than HBO Girls' Jemima Kirk. Jemima Kirk's Hope is very significant, I feel, not just to the show, but also to the zeitgeist that the show is trying to truly understand, emulate even, is really significant. And it's for a lot of reasons that it's just so hard for me to get out into words. But the main thing that I really found compelling about Hope's character is that she is this older millennial that comes off initially like a woke savior. You know, she's got this idea in her head, or she presents as this person that is going to kind of give the students the assistance and the education that they truly want at school. But we find out kind of through a lot of subtle ways that Hope is not as uplifting as her name might suggest. I thought that this was a really interesting way to play this character. We already got Adam Groff's father, which is this, toxic white male, masculine kind of antagonist in seasons 1 and 2. So I thought it was really interesting that they chose to have a younger woman play the antagonist this time around, because I think with the rise of female conservatism, and not just with that, but just with this idea of we have to go back to family values being a largely minor but still, loud voice that you're hearing in media today. And I also think that they used Hope's character to really tackle some of the problems that we see in these corporate Democrats who pretend to be very liberal. They pretend to be very progressive, but they aren't as accepting to people's gender politics, or even to just issues that we've been dealing with for years now, like racism and tokenism. And I really liked that they chose this, because they could have gone with a more straight, in your face, tongue in cheek character to be the bad guy or the villain of this season, and they decided to pick something that was a lot more messy. The things that are messy that are good are super good with Hope's character, but there is a little bit of a moment where they do try to humanize her, and that part is a little bit stickier in its landing, or I guess less sticky. I don't know gymnastic terms, but it's a little bit less solid in getting its message across because they kind of use a very separate and irrelevant reason as to why she's kind of the person that she is. I don't know if I'm maybe misreading like why they did that. I'm hoping that in the next season we get a little bit more understanding as to why they made the decisions they made with Hope's character at the end. But I kind of wish we had just had a more, I don't want to say I wish we had like a more simpler villain. I think that like we live in a world where we are just we're past a cookie cutter villain. But one of the reasons why I even compared Hope to Umbridge is for a lot of the same reasons why Umbridge's character is still highly hated in the Harry Potter fandom, because there was something about her. We didn't need to humanize her to understand her motivations. We didn't need to have a whole breakdown of who she was and kind of use that as a way of excusing her behavior. She makes bad decisions because she is a bad person, and bad things and good things happen to all kinds of people alike. So it's kind of a bit of a cop-out to use the reasons that they used on Hope as a justification for pretty much being transphobic, being somewhat microaggressive, if not racist, and also just being a censor. Overall, I truly enjoyed season 3 of Sex Education. I was ugly crying on my couch. I was laughing. I was shipping people. I had a really good time. When I was growing up, I didn't have access to television that properly handled not just gender identity and sexual orientation, but just safe sex and relationships in a way that was respectful, inclusive, and diverse. And I think that Sex Education, while may not be, it's not perfect, no show is, I think it really is getting the closest, and I really want this show to get a little bit more accolade. I don't know why it's never really being nominated for anything. I think it should be. It's totally deserving of Emmy nominations because the acting is good despite them being, millennials playing Gen Zers. So what did you think about season 3 of Sex Education? Let's start a dialogue down in the comments below. Please make sure, though, if you have anything that is spoilers, to mark it as such. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at CriticalCom with 2M's TV. And make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a video here on Critical Commentary. Bye, guys.